What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of the Premier League Spur-Spective, where me and my brother, well, it's a review show from Predict the Prem, and me and my brother go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. We've got scores, which is 209 to Sim, 225 to me, and the way the scoring works, it is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. Star man as well. Once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the entirety of the season, and it's 5 points for a goal, 3 points for an assist. And let's get straight into it with the first game on the weekend. Was Friday night football at Craven Cottage, which finished 1-1. Fulham against Wolves, and we both went for 1-1 as well, so started off the weekend with a bang of 5 pointers for both of us. Didn't get to see much of this game because we were both out, but I did see that goal from Manor Solomon to level it up with about half an hour to go, and that man's on fire at the moment. 3 goals in his last 3 games, and this one was the best of the lot. A really nice goal.
Yeah, he seems to be making an impact off the bench, playing with some really good finishes. Obviously, he's been so unlucky this season with a lot of injury problems he's had, and I think in his second game for Fulham, he got ruled out for up to 6 months, and now he's finally getting the game time, and he's providing the difference when it comes to Fulham and their European ambitions. Obviously, it's results like this are going to cost them a real push for top 4. I don't really think they'll be going to be able to keep up with that, and I think this goes to show it. Wolves, on the other hand, a good solid draw away from home, and it's results like this I'll keep them up as opposed to Fulham. Those results like this I'll cost them. They're now 3 points clear of the relegation zone, and they seem like just a solid outfit now, Wolves, that are going to be very tough to beat. They're not like free flowing, but Lopetegui is getting results, so solid result for them.
Next up, Everton against Aston Villa, which finished 2-0 to Villa at Goodison Park. Sim went for 1-0 to Villa, so he gets a point for this one. I went to 1-0 to Everton, but it was 2-0 to Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins, a man on form at the moment. I think that's 5 goals in his last 5 games, I believe, which is unbelievable for him, seeing as before that he only had scored 2 for the whole season. So he's definitely coming into form. Emi Buendia as well, another player coming into form for Aston Villa. But it was a result where Everton needed to get something, and they just got beat 2-0.
Yeah, and it was a real poor performance, I thought, from Everton. They didn't really have too much apart from set pieces to really trouble Aston Villa. They did have a few moments from set pieces where they did nearly score, to be fair to them, and I think there was some headers that went just flashed across the face to goal and went wide. But they know under Sean Dyche, Everton under Sean Dyche, are going to have to play the percentages, and you can't afford to be giving away penalties when they're trying to play the way they are, and that penalty cost them. It went 1-0, and then I think Everton had a shot cleared off the line, Villa had a shot cleared off the line, and then Buendia went and scored and made it 2-0 with a really nice finish, and that sealed it. But as soon as it went 1-0, Everton never really threatened, and that's now 2 wins, 2 losses for Sean Dyche. So bit of a mixed start, I think it's fair to say, although they did beat Arsenal, but they're going to have to up their game and put in better performances like this if they're going to make sure that they are going to keep themselves safe, because they're back in the relegation zone now.
Well, let's hope they can make it 3 wins and 2 losses in their next game. But they need to start getting points on the board. Next up is Liverpool-Southampton, which finished 1-0. Sorry, not Liverpool. Leeds-Southampton, which finished 1-0 to Leeds. Sim went 2-1 to Leeds. I went 2-2. So Sim gets another point there. I get 0. And I thought it was a performance that definitely deserved a victory for Leeds United. I think they were pushing and pushing throughout the whole game. Finally got that goal from Junior Firpo with about 10 minutes to go. But I think they were good value for that victory, to be fair.
Yeah, I thought it was a game of a kind of low quality. It looked like it was going to peter out to a 0-0. I thought both sides could have done more to force the issue. I think Leeds were probably the better side throughout, but Southampton offered very little. Surprisingly, after a very morale-boosting win against Chelsea last week, they offered very little in this one. The likes of Sulemana weren't really involved, unfortunately for them. Leeds pushed, but again, they didn't really have too many clear opportunities to actually go and score. But the substitutes worked, and Firpo came on with a really nice finish. Keeper will be disappointed that it goes under him, but nice finish from Firpo, and that snatches all 3 points. But I do think it was a low-quality game overall. But Leeds, that is a very vital 3 points, which takes them up to 17th.
Yeah, and leave Southampton rock bottom of the Premier League. But let's move on to Leicester against Arsenal. Finished 1-0 to Arsenal on the day. I went 3-2, so I get a point here. Sim went to 2-2, and he gets 0 points. But look, I thought it was one-way traffic throughout the whole game, to be honest. Leicester just couldn't break through Arsenal. They had a couple of half chances, but I thought Arsenal were really dominant throughout the game and probably 1-0 flattered Leicester, in my opinion.
Well, just goes to show, look at the shots. They had one shot the whole game, Leicester, and that was from outside the box as well. So really disappointing display from them. Arsenal were fully dominant in control. Definitely Leicester missed the likes of James Maddison, because in the first half they had a few opportunities to counter-attack in the space, and poor decision-making and poor execution really cost them, and then the moves ended up breaking down, and Arsenal were able to deal with it. Arsenal were well worth the win, though. They had a goal chalked off in the first half. Trossard scored with a screamer on the edge of the box.
What did you make out of that?
I thought it was foul. I think it's a good call. It's a good call. I think the fact that Ben White had his arm around Danny Ward and pulled him down, I think it's a good spot from the VAR, to be honest. I think if you're an Arsenal fan, you'll feel hard done by it. But I think if Ben White tried to get away with a sneaky one, and he nearly did, but I think the VAR spotted it.
Yeah, look, I thought it was the right call in the end, but I did feel it was a tiny bit harsh, because I think they would have had to replay that about 2 or 3 times to get the right decision.
Yeah, that's why it's a sneaky one from Ben White, very sneaky, because I think there's only one camera angle you can see it.
Yeah,
he had his arm, he had his arm in between Ben White's arm.
Yeah.
So I think it was the right call, but then Arsenal went and scored within the first minute of the second half. And Leicester never truly threatened to get back in the game, and I think Maddison was a very big miss for them. But good win for Arsenal.
I'm hearing some Arsenal fans are complaining about the disallowed goal regarding Eric Dyer putting his 2 hands on Mason Mount and using him as a springboard to head on for Harry Kane at the back post. Have you seen anything in that?
I haven't
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Didn't notice that, no.
Maybe watch it back and let me know your opinion on it. But moving on to West Ham against Nottingham Forest. 4-0 to West Ham at the London Stadium. Sim went 2-0. I went 0-0. So Sim gets a point here. And I think this was West Ham's best performance of the season. Even in the first half, when they weren't getting the goals, I thought they were the team on top, creating chances, just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And once the first goal came, a flurry of goals came. And Danny Ings... I think his first start for West Ham, getting 2 goals. So, West Ham with a big win for them.
Yeah, kind of will be a performance that'll make you question why they haven't been playing Danny Ings more often, to be honest, because
of injury.
He was a fox in the box. And I think he's been available for all of West Ham's games, hasn't he?
No, I don't think he has. I think he's missed
He's come off the bench for a lot of them, I think.
Yeah, because he's coming back from a big injury.
Well, I think now that he's fit, he'll be starting a lot more, because he's a kind of player that they need. They need someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. And 2 really clever fox-in-the-box finishes for him, good positioning.
I know. He wasn't. No, you're right. He wasn't injured. He was one game out injured.
Yeah, I did think so. So fair play to Danny Ings. Got the start, and maybe he's just needed to integrate himself into the team. But West Ham were all over Nottingham Forest in this game. It was one-way traffic. Forest were really disappointing. You expect them to be maybe a bit harder to beat, considering that they've had some good form recently, but they kind of folded quite easily in this one, unfortunately, as soon as they won 1-0. And it was a kind of a case of how many. Bowen as well had opportunities. They got some subs, and there was lots of opportunities there for a lot of the West Ham players. And 4-0 was not flattering, did not flatter West Ham whatsoever. It was a bit of a battering, and it was these kind of games where I thought West Ham kind of picked their moments to really go for it, and this one they went for it, and it was good timing, because these kind of games you need to win if you're going to stay up. So they're now just outside the relegation zone, 16th.
All right,
but Forest maybe in danger of getting dragged back into it. 4 points clear now.
Yeah, I do think their home form will keep them up, to be fair.
If they could keep it up.
Yeah, if they can keep it up. Next up is Bournemouth against Man City. Finished 4-1 to Manchester City, a game where Bournemouth have never beaten Man City in their history, which was crazy when I heard that stat. But Sim went 2-0, I went 3-1, so we both get a point on the board here. And the first goal came in after 15 minutes, Julian Alvarez, and it was just pretty much one-way traffic for the majority of the game. They did have a late push and a late flurry, Bournemouth, in the second half, but game was pretty much done by then. I thought Phil Foden was pretty amazing, to be honest, in this game.
Yeah, it was easy work. They were 3-0 up at half-time. They came out firing after Arsenal's win. They wanted to make a statement that, they're not going to let the lead increase by any more. And I think Alvarez got an early goal. Bournemouth seemed a bit all over the place at the back, and when you're a bit all over the place against a team like Man City, they can just destroy you. And with Alvarez, Haaland, Foden and Grealish, that's exactly what they did. They were never in danger of Bournemouth were never in danger of getting back in the game. It was pretty much one-way traffic, as you would expect in this kind of game. And I think all of the goals pretty much pouncing on Bournemouth mistakes and making sure that they were punished for it. Bournemouth did get a goal late on, a consolation, which made it 4-1, but it was an easy day for Man City in the end. Put some 2 points behind Arsenal, though Arsenal play their game in hand on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I mean, that Phil Foden goal on the stroke of half-time, I mean, you cannot make those mistakes against Man City, or anyone, to be honest, in the Premier League. You're always going to get punished for them, and it was game, set and match from then. Next up was Crystal Palace Liverpool, which finished 0-0 at Selhurst Park. Sim went 1-1. I went 2-1 to Liverpool, so yet another point for Simeon this week. And look, I thought Liverpool, they weren't great. I thought a draw might have been the right outcome of the game, but I thought maybe there are a couple of chances where Liverpool should have done better from.
Again, it was another game of a bit low quality. There wasn't either side probably didn't do enough to win the game. Liverpool probably feel like they were closest to winning the game out of the two with some of the chances they did create, with Guaita doing quite well. But then again, they got lucky because in the first half they were gifting Palace some real opportunities, and Mateta hit the bar, and there was another one when they gifted Palace an opportunity, they couldn't make the most of it. So on the one hand, they might feel like with some of the chances they had, they could have won the game, but I think as well they might feel like they got away with one with some of the chances they conceded.
You know what I just forgot about when I was doing the review of the game, but who I was really impressed with in this game was Elise. Elise was completely taking the game. I mean, they couldn't deal with him at times. He was just making those darting runs through the middle of the park, and Liverpool didn't know how to deal with him at times, but still couldn't hurt Liverpool too much.
Yeah, there weren't great chances, like overall, apart from the ones that Liverpool gifted to Palace. So I think a draw, probably a fair result, a 0-0 draw, but not good one for Liverpool, who lose more ground in the top four race. It's after there seemed to be light at the end of the tunnel for them with the two wins against Everton and Newcastle, but since then 5-2 against Madrid and 0-0 against Palace, so still a lot of work for them to do.
Yeah, with midweek football coming for them, but their loss is our gain because we beat Chelsea 2-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, both of us going for 1-0 to Spurs, and so we both get a point each there. I mean, we covered this game to death, but one more time won't hurt, because I think it was a really good display from Tottenham Hotspur. First half wasn't as good as second half. The second half we really came out to play, scored a goal within the first few minutes or first 30 seconds of the second half, and Chelsea pretty much had no reply after that, and we sealed the game in the last few minutes. Yeah,
I think it was a good display, solid, professional from Spurs, made sure that we always had Chelsea at arm's length, and then we had the quality up the other end to make the difference. Chelsea probably making a few mistakes for that first goal, which really cost them. But Tottenham now, with 4 wins and 5, become the form team in their Premier League, which is crazy to think about considering the negativity swirling around the club. But there you have it. All of a sudden, we're in the top 4, 4 points clear of Newcastle now, who lost the cup final on Sunday. So really impressive stuff for Tottenham.
Yeah. And let's move on to the star men. Sim went for Jarrod Bowen in a 4-0 win for West Ham at home. You must be disappointed Jarrod Bowen only got an assist in this one.
A bit. Look, he got the 3 points, better than nothing. He did hit the post and it rolled across the line, and it very nearly made a goal and assist for Bowen. But he did have his chances. He played very well, but only 1 assist to show for it, which is a bit frustrating from my point of view.
Yeah, so Sim gets 3 points for Jarrod Bowen. Riyad Mahrez, I said it in the Prem as well. I bet I'm going to fall foul of a bit of Pep roulette. And that's exactly what happened, because Mahrez did not start the game. He came on in the last stage of the second half and had a free kick just on the edge right at the end, which I thought he was going to put in the back of the net, but it was just over. So I get 0 points for Riyad Mahrez. And that brings an end to the Spur-Spective. But we do have 2 predictions for midweek. And the first one is Arsenal against Everton. Sim's gone for 3-0. I've gone for 2-0. I think we've gone for a bit of similar thinking here. I think Arsenal are going to make light work of Everton on Wednesday night. But I'm just hoping for a bit of Sean Dycheism, if that's what you want to call it. And I'm hoping, but seeing as I've gone for 2-0 to Arsenal, I don't expect it to happen.
I think if Everton had a forward like Calvert-Lewin fit, who was someone who could relieve the pressure for them and hold the ball up, then maybe they would have a bit of a slight chance. But the fact that they don't, Sims and Maupay are their only options. They got no one who's going to make the ball stick. Yeah, he's a youth player. They've got no one who's going to make the ball stick. So I think it's just going to be relentless pressure from Arsenal, and I don't think Everton are going to be able to cope. It might be one of those where it's a bit congested and it's a bit difficult before Arsenal score. And it might be very similar for the Leicester game for Arsenal, where it's 0-0 at half-time or something, but I do expect them to break the deadlock, and when they do, I think the floodgates will open and Everton will crumble. So I can't see anything but an Arsenal win. And Everton at the moment, I know it's 4 games under Dyche now, and I know they beat Arsenal, but they've only scored 2 goals in those 4 games, and that goes to show that the problems that they have, they've always had goal scoring problems, and he hasn't been able to solve them just yet. 2 goals in 4 games is not good.
Yeah, I mean, with the attacking talent they have, then, I mean, it's kind of expected, especially when you look at just the strikers that they do have with, like you say, Calvert-Lewin injured. There's no one else really to step up. And you made a point to me as well, I think, one day when you said, like, Sean Dyche could have done good with Rondon, and they let him go just before Dyche came.
I bet you he's angry they released Rondon on a free right now, because he's perfect for someone like Sean Dyche.
Yeah, he is. Next prediction is Liverpool against Wolves. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Liverpool. I've gone for 1-1 here. And Wolves have had good games against Liverpool of late. They played in the Cup, they played in the League not so long ago, and I think Wolves came out on top in both games, if I remember correctly.
No, Liverpool beat them in the Cup.
Liverpool beat them in the Cup, but then Wolves beat them in the League, right? So both of them are closely fought games, closely contested games, and I think it'll be one of those again. Wolves are a very hard-working side. Liverpool not having it their own way at the moment, but at Anfield they usually are strong. But I'm going to go for Wolves to stifle them a little bit at 1-1.
Yeah, I think Liverpool will edge it. I think they've got enough quality. I think Wolves will try and nick them on the counter and keep it tight. And I reckon they'll get some joy, which is why I have them scoring a goal. But I just think, if not, especially if Nunes is back fit again, I think Liverpool will have too much quality and will overcome this Wolves side. And they need to get a result in this game, because they can't fall too much further away from top 4 than they already are. So if they're going to have any chance of top 4, I think they need to win this game. So, and I've done them to do that, 2-1.
All right, big up. That is our Spur-Spective and our predictions for this week. Let me know in the comment section below your predictions for the 2 games this midweek. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.